Hello everybody, my name is Sirenez, and today we are back at it simulating AI wars inside of Roblox. If you haven't seen the last video, I highly recommend it, as this will be a continuation of it, with some fairly cool improvements and story developments that I think you guys will enjoy. But, without further ado, let's dive right back into our world of AI wars. Red had stood victorious above the others, showing that no matter what was thrown their way, they refused to give in. But that's when the ground would start to shake. The land began turning from a dull gray into a peaceful shade of green. It would begin to change its own shape, strange bumps and steep hills forming from the earth, as all sizes of mysterious brown cylinders with large fluffy tops and a strangely rough surface would sprout themselves from the ground. With this new vast landscape, it would be inevitable that the teams would butt heads over the plentiful new resources and claimable land. Red would be the first, setting up their castle near a mine, surrounded by what they now called the forest. But an old foe who had been in the shadows had decided it was time to strike. Both Red and Pink were off to the races, collecting gold from the mines and chopping down trees to further grow their army. They were both at a good pace, but it seemed that Red was ever so slightly ahead. The first contact between the two teams would be a Pink warrior who spotted a worker, chasing him down before being sliced down by a group of Red's warriors, rushing in immediately to protect their fellow member. The trend of stragglers roaming too far and then getting caught by groups of the enemy would happen once or twice, with Pink usually on the losing side. But as fate would have it, the first decent scuffle between the two would actually come out on Pink's side, managing to take them down and return back to base. The second big fight would do the opposite, going into Red's favor. Until it wasn't, and they got too close to Pink's base, alerting a mass amount of their warriors, who made quick work of the small assault team. Red wouldn't allow this to stand though, sending yet another group out to attack, with reinforcements consistently following behind. As Red got closer to Pink's base, Pink would follow suit, now also sending reinforcements to support the battle. Pink would manage to fend them off, but the current situation was looking bleak for them, with Red absolutely towering over Pink with a whopping 70-member difference. It would seem to try and mitigate this, a small but growing group of Pink warriors would go out and attack Red workers who were too far from their base. As simple of a strategy as this was, it seemed to be paying off so far, getting them from 30 to 50 members and counting. Of course though, Red wasn't just going to sit by and let this happen, sending a massive group of soldiers to attack. The group would fight valiantly, but just couldn't hold. This wouldn't deter Pink though, as they immediately sent out another group to continue bullying Red's workers. It wouldn't work out this time either, the two still seemingly at a standstill in member counts and integrity, with Pink sending out their entire army to take care of the warriors who took out their men. This mean fight would continue for minutes, and end nowhere to be seen, until the biggest and final fight would occur. starting with just a handful of pink members bullying a few reds, then red bringing in reinforcements, and pink doing the same soon after. The battle was fierce, but the absolute size of red's army was proving to be difficult, pushing pink closer and closer to their home turf. Pink would fight on and on, their unwillingness to surrender being very commendable, but with their numbers rapidly declining and red barely below 100, sadly there was once again a clear and undisputed victor. Luckily though, 7 of Pink's members were hiding in the shadows, sneaking away to build themselves up once more, refusing for this to be the end of Pink's legacy. Per usual, the teams took the time between conflicts to improve and iron out their strategies. Warriors decided that they would roam further out, to try and mitigate losses to their workers as much as possible. The teams would also realize that waiting for conflicts to come to them wasn't really the best of ideas, and that instead, they should be sending out groups of soldiers to the other teams, stopping anybody and anything from attacking their home base, by sending the fight to them instead. Of course though, they also made sure that a handful of soldiers would always be stationed at their base, to account for anything that does manage to get past the attack parties that are being sent out. Once again, with them now slowly building up again, the gold veins would begin drying up, and workers would come back with reports that resources were becoming scarcer every day. They realized there wouldn't be enough land and resources for everyone to survive, and yet again, quickly escalated into a full-scale war for survival and prosperity. After taking some time to build their teams up, the first to send warriors out to attack would be blue, shortly followed by yellow to catch blue's men on the way to their base, and green absolutely destroying the singular blue member who decided to come attack them for some reason. Red and blue would be the first to have any sort of a significant fight, but red would pretty quickly and easily dominate the blue attackers. Green would begin sending soldiers out as well, with half clashing with a group of red soldiers and the other half going right towards yellow's base. Unexpectedly, basically blue's entire army came rushing over to the battle between green and red, turning into an absolute mosh pit of steel bashing against each other. Although, with the large proportion of them being blue, it would seem that they'd overtake the battle for the center of the map. With that going on, various small to medium fights were also occurring all over the map between multiple teams, each of them working as hard as they could to keep their numbers growing. Green and yellow would take over the fight for the middle of the map, as blue had set their sights on the current undefeated champion, red. But even though red was weakened by their recent loss in soldiers, they still managed to fend off blue, just in time for green to come swarming to blue and blindsiding their base anyway. And with blue already having been through so much battle, they didn't have the warriors needed to protect themselves, swiftly falling to the might of green, with the last blue worker taking one last swing at a tree before falling himself. Zooming back out to see what's fully going on, it seems that yellow is spreading their workers far throughout the map to get as many resources as possible, whilst green is staying much more compact and staying nearby each other. And red, well, red was mostly just trying to hang in there, as while the other teams were around 40 to 50 members deep, red was barely cracking 20 to 30. The teams would have a small moment of peace, but of course that wouldn't last long, with red clashing against yellow and green also sending a separate group to attack yellow personally. The fight between green and yellow would be a mean one though, with both sides having comparable numbers. But when green strategically retreated and let yellow come closer to their turf, green would push yellow away for now. The battle between all three teams in the middle had calmed for a moment, but seemed to flare up once more. Green was refusing to let up, continuing to put the pressure onto Yellow by sending their army right back to Yellow's turf. In fact, Green had also taken over the fight in the middle, now only being Green against Red. Green's aggressive strategy would pay off, with them quickly overwhelming Yellow's army and slaying their last few workers, marking Yellow's end. The army of Green soldiers that had slain Yellow were now on their way to Red, but Red was also on their way to Green. Sadly though, Red wouldn't even get the chance to get close to their base, with the other half of Green's army swiftly rushing in to remove any chance of them being blindsided. And that's the end of today's AI wars. The battle might be over, but the war itself is just beginning. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, please consider dropping a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps, and I would appreciate it a ton. If you guys would like for me to continue doing simulations like this, let me know. And if you do want this to continue, consider dropping some ideas on what you'd want simulated, or maybe some ideas on features you think would make this even better. But alright, no more yapping from me. Peace out, and have a good one.